Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another stream. Right. So, what are we doing again? Quick recap. We're still trying to do mapping choices. So, the idea is that you have a pick and place machine file from an EDA tool with a list of placements in it, but somehow you've got to map those placements to parts that you can buy from a supplier and then tell your pick and place machine which parts you want to put in it. And then at some point we're going to write, actual pick and place machine software instead of all this stuff to do with the workflow around it. But it's all important. And writing this stuff first, just for those following along, allows us to think about the sort of like the model a bit more, should we say? For instance, like part and placement and all this kind of thing, which the other bit of software later will also use. All right. So yesterday I did a couple more commits. We were trying to basically get a test going so that we could assert things in a trace log, and we wanted to assert things in a trace log because when we build our user interface is going to generate trace logging of things that it's doing. Because you don't actually want to check the user interface that much. We're going to rely more on the tests of the UI frameworks in that they render properly. Occasionally, we might add one to say like when all these things are displayed, it's supposed to look like this. But we don't want to. We certainly don't want to be checking every single character all the time as we're going through all these things. We just want to know the key points happened. And this is fairly common in sort of like this kind of testing, user interface testing. This pattern is. Right. Plus, also, this UI is not necessarily a long-term thing because we want to add a graphical user interface at some point. But this is going to help us think about how we're going to structure the task that we need to do in ideally a more simple way. And certainly in a pure Rust way, because I'm not ready to go the whole Qt way yet. Anyway, so let's bring up the code. Right. So yesterday, after the stream finished, I did a commit. Let me show you. Hold on. What have I got? Okay, maybe I didn't do the commit. Maybe I prepped the commit. I didn't actually do the commit. Oh, well, that's handy then, isn't it? Because we can do it now. Fine. So what we had yesterday was basically some checking to say that this should happen, this should happen, this should happen, and this should happen, like various different things. So placements get loaded, parts get loaded, mappings get loaded, and all this kind of thing, right? But what's important about what's missing from this, sorry, is that the order of these things is not checked. They can happen in any order. But that isn't what we want when we're dealing with a UI. What we want to say is when the user says go, it loads up some things, and then some various logs are created in order, and then the user picks something in the UI, and then it says so. We need ordered-based testing. So after a bit of searching around and tinkering and so on, I've come up with two macros, and I'll quickly explain what's going on. So the idea is you get the trace content. Ignore the fact that it's cloned here, but anyway, you have to go through the trace content and look for something, and hopefully it's there. And then you get the remaining part of the trace content, which you need to look for other things in, and then you keep basically looking through it, and you have this remainder chunk all the time that the next log entry should be in. So the idea is that there's basically a little macro. It turns out that this can probably actually be a function. So you pass it the remainder of the trace content, which is all of it to start with. Then you look for this thing, and then it doesn't assert if it's there to make sure that this is there. And if it's not there, it will give you a line number where the test fails, which is good. because it makes going to the the failing part of the test much easier. And then it gives you the remainder back again, which you then pass to the next one. And I prefix these with underscore because the last one isn't used, and we're going to be adding more things to this, and I just wanted to avoid the warning. And that's how you do it in Rust. And this works, and it's okay. It's a little bit verbose, but it does what it does. It's not totally hideous. I did this other variant of it where you basically say assert contains in order, and you say trace content, and then you give it a list of things. And this also works, but when it fails, you have to sort of say, okay, the third one of these was the one that was missing, and here's the remaining content. And when it fails, you get a line in the stack trace, the line number in the stack trace that points to this line and not necessarily the line that was missing. So you sort of have to read the message a bit more. And I don't know which one I like yet, really. I'm going to see how they go. And I'm just going to maintain both of them for a little bit. We're going to see which one we like, and then eventually we'll delete one. So this is what there is, right? So add ordered. Test. Yeah, test trace log contains expected content in a specific order. Something like that. Right, in order to do that, we had to create these two macros, and I've just slapped these in at the top here for the moment. But we're going to relocate those in a minute. Right. Because if we were to build all the tests and run them, we get 2 warnings to say that the macros aren't used, so we need to deal with that as well. Let's have a look. So we've got these 2 warnings here. So let's create a new module. We're going to call it assert. Sure. Yeah. And we're going to go mod ordered. Let's do this. And then let's take those macros, which I think were here. Yeah, there they are. And see if we can move them. Oh, I think I should probably use the refactoring thing. Refactor. There, you see, it doesn't know how to do it. Yeah, they haven't got the support for moving macros around yet in IntelliJ, I don't think. So now we've got these, which is going to mean that we won't be able to build this probably. And then once we've done all this, we're going to get onto something a little bit more exciting. This one here. Right, so this should fail with an error. So we're going to have to import this somehow, but I don't know how. I can't remember how to do it. I think you have to do this macro use thing somewhere on top level. Yeah. Yeah. Macro export. Well, macros defined locally, macro use is what you want. Fine. Let's give this a go. This is what I'm hearing. So we go macro use, then what? Wait, do we put it in? This? Let's find out. Not sure. It says unused macro definition. So we're going to say allow unused macros, but it says it can't find it. So we need to look a bit more about this documentation. Rust macro use. No, not that. How'd you do it? Textual scope. Mod has macro. Here we go. The macro use attribute has two purposes. First, it can be used to make a module scope not end when the module is closed. Right. So you're supposed to put macro use on the mod, which is what we did, right? We put macro use on the mod that contains it, right? Fine. Second, it can be used to import macros from another crate. Well, we're not importing macros from another crate. It's in our... Well, technically we are, though, for the test, because the binary is the binary is its own crate, isn't it? So that's probably what we need to do. Okay. How do we do it then? And then what is the crate name? Self? Eh? What? Oh, it's defined in the cargo file, right? MakerPnP currently, I think. But more actions. Save it to dictionary. Here we go. Okay, let's try that. No. Cannot find it. Why? Right. Macros labeled with a macro export are always pub and can be referred to by other crates, which is technically what is happening. So I guess this maybe here. Ooh, aha, there we go. It's a bit of a faff for moving macros around with Rust, to be honest. Bit of a faff. Still, we did it. Everything's fine. Right. So does it work still? I suppose we should make sure. Right. While it's compiling that, we'll prep the commit message. So we added a mod. We moved the macros. We updated the test to move the macros. They pass, which is good. and then we shouldn't have any warnings when we build this. And then we can get on to trying a ratatouille. This is good. So move the ordered assert macros into a mod. There we go. Jobs are good. Right, let's push them up. Git push. Happy days. Let's have a quick look for to-dos. I can support, see it. And then report some issues. Yeah, and this is the one we're trying to do. So we need some user interface to allow the user to choose one or the other of these potential part mappings. So let's write an assert for this, and then let's add a user interface to do it. What could the assert look like? What could the assert look like? Well, how about we say yeah, no, apparently there's more work to do before we add a user interface. Nuts. How about we say mapping failure. No rule to choose mapping. Mapping failures. Let's just say mapping failures for now. Mapping failures. Right. Right. So let's make it say mapping failures. Let's also, and because we're going to maintain both of these for the moment. So mapping failures. So the expected tree currently looks like this, but I'm going to take these brackets off. And then I think what we're going to do is make it show like an error or something here. So R1. So let's copy this. Should we have? Error. No. Unresolved. Yeah, unresolved mapping. Unresolved mapping conflict. Yeah. That seems reasonable. Do we want these little things here like this? Or is this okay? Do we want to put stars at the beginning of it? Do we want it in a different colour? Different colour would be nice, wouldn't it? Don't know how to do that though. It would be nice though. Okay, well, let's make it do that, and we can add color as a night. It would be nice later. Let's keep focused. There's going to be like an ANSI escape sequence or something to set the color. Not thinking about that right now. Right, so we've got this. This is what we said. Right. Cool. Let's make this happen then, because currently it ain't going to happen. So we've got to go back to our part mapper. This thing, right? And our part mapper has got map path, and we've got a test where everything is fine. So now let's have the unhappy case test, for which we've just decided that we need. So we're going to do the copy paste comment out thing again. There we go. So, and we're going to start with a when. So we go when match mappings is that, and then we want to assert. There should be a then here. Okay, we'll fix that. Then we want the expected results. So then we need the expected results, and this is where it's going to differ from the other one. So let's just deal with a case where there's one thing that needs to be mapped, and there's two things that it could be mapped to. So we've got this EDA placement. Now, yes, so what we want in this is two of these, right? I think. Right. Is it easy? What happened there? There we go. So we need our part mappings. Fine. We've got all of the part mappings, that's fine. And we're going to need only two criteria for this. And we're going to have name 1 to value 1, and also name 1 and value 1, because these need to match still, right? And there's only going to be one part. Oops. It's only going to be one part, right? And it's going to be one placement. And then we've got to deal with the parts in a moment. So it's going to be two part mappings, one for each part. That's right. Yeah. I was wrong here when I said there's only one part. There's two parts. Obviously, they need two parts, otherwise you can't have a conflict to resolve. Another problem is there are no mappings as well. That's one of the other things. But let's deal with it more. Let's deal with this one first. Often, what's useful if you come up with a scenario that you know you need, it's good to have map parts. It's good to do this, where you create a failing test. Yeah, I was used to the lovely Spock framework, so I guess we have to go assert. Well, I suppose. I know you can just do to do in Rust, can't you? That should create a failing test, and then name it map part with no part mappings. If a part has no mappings, a mapping error should be generated. Something like that, right? And that will remind us to do it. So, okay, we'll go back to this. So we've got name one, value one, right? EDA placement. And we've got two parts that it could map to. And then we've got two mappings which map that part to different parts. That's important. I mean, it would just be a duplicate otherwise. Right, so what's this going to do? Who knows? Let's run all these tests. And we need to name our test a little bit better. Let's see. It passes. Yeah, we need more asserts, basically. Because there's no, like, OK or error. Right. So map part with multiple matching mappings. Okay, so it looks like we need another assert before we can change some production code. So we've got this part mappings. And it feels like it could be a result object with an error. So if we say it's error of a, what kind of error is this? It's going to be a part, well, yeah, part mapping error, multiple matching mappings. And then we give it the list of mappings. And so that seems reasonable. So let's create this. Oh, we've already got a part mapping error. Do we? Cool. I love when that happens. Fine. Fine. But is it... Wait a second. What's this used by currently? No, this is a part mapping record error. Okay, this is a different thing. It's a different thing. We need to not. This is a CSV thing. Not that one. Part mapping record error. Let's rename this. Part mapping record error. Right. Now we can go back to this. And we have to somehow create this now. So it probably should go with a part mapper. Somewhere around here, I imagine. Yeah. Let's create an enum. And let's make it... Does it need to be pub? Yeah, it does. Pub. Right. And... Oh, well, it needs to derive these things because we're going to compare it in tests. So we'll just add that. So now we should be able to import this. Thus. And then we should be able to create this. No. That was a little bit confusing, wasn't it? Why is it trying to create an associated function? We want to create an enum variant. Well, this is going to be interesting. Look, we've got lifetimes on our error. Fine. Okay, well, we're going to see what happens here. This will be interesting. Yeah, okay. What's it complaining about here? Oh, it's complaining probably because I haven't changed this, because this needs to be a result of a vector of part mappings or a part mapping error. Why is it complaining about this? Missing lifetime specify. No, that's fine. That's fine. Press the wrong button. Oh dear, no. Oh dear. Let's try that again, shall we? There we go. Okay, that stopped it complaining. And now down here, there we go, look. That looks better. Let's split this up so we can see what's going on a bit more clearly. So this is that one. Yeah. Okay, that looks good. Right. We'll have broken the other test. It won't compile. Because the other one needs to be an OK. Oh, yes. I was a bit... copy-paste happy there. Right, so this needs to be... Well... Okay, it's moaning about the production code at this point. Let's have a look at these other ones first before we get to it. So we're going to say OK for these ones. Right. Right, and it's obviously trying to push a part mapping into a result, which is no good. Right. So now, even if the user has picked one of these part mappings, there can still be multiple part mappings that matched. Right? So there needs to be this concept of like a selection, a selected. We're gonna come to that. That's gonna be pretty cool. That is. I'm looking forward to doing that bit. Let's have a look. So we've got this vector, and we're just basically adding everything to it. So let's move. Let's move this result down and extract the vector. Can we do that? Can we introduce a variable? Yeah, we can. Here we go. Matching mappings. So instead of putting the part mapping that matches into the result straight away, we're going to put it into matching. Matching mappings. right? But this needs to be mutable because. And now it's complaining that there's a problem. So now we need some way of saying, well, if there's 1, then it's okay. Otherwise, there's some form of error. So let's say result here. I know there's lots of result things. And then we're going to say this is, match. And then we're going to go match. What are we matching on? Match on matchings. Map brain hurts. Dot len. So we're going to say if there's exactly 1, then we're going to say okay, matching mappings, because it's a vector of 1. Otherwise, no. Not otherwise. That's going to be another case. To do. If there's 2 or more, then we go error, part mapping error, multiple matching mappings, matching mapping, and then a semicolon. I think that's what we want. And we're going to have to deal with the case where there's 0, right? Let's just put 0 in to remind us that we've got to do it still. I'm not sure whether this is going to compile. See, the syntax and the pattern matching in Rust is brilliant. I love it. It's well nice. If you were doing that in C or Java, it wouldn't be as nice to read and understand. So apparently it built. Let's see what happens if we run it. I think it's going to fail, but it might not. It passed. Hey, I was wrong. This is great. Okay, so now we can deal with this to do and this no part mapping situation. So let's do it. Let's do the copy paste yada yada yada. We're gonna do what the to do says, and we're gonna comment out all this other stuff, except the placements. Let's have a look. Now, if there's no mappings at all, I guess we don't even need any mappings. Part mapping. So we just need an empty list, really, don't we? So, yeah. Right. Expected results we're going to need. But it's not going to be this. It's going to be no mappings. Okay. Right. And then if we've got no part mappings, no criteria, no parts, that's probably sufficient. Okay, so this should then throw the exception when we run it, say to do, not implemented, with a bit of luck. Unless I've got any compilation errors. Do. There we go. And it says not implemented, which is exactly right. So now we can go error, part mapping error. No mappings. And now it's done, right? Yeah, must be. I think it is. Let's have a look. Okay, so it works. This is great. This is great. So now where were we now? I think we should do a commit at this point because we can commit all this stuff to do with the part matching and all this kind of stuff independently from our test, which we haven't finished. So firstly, let's go into this thing and do a commit for this, which is the rename of part mapping error. Rename part mapping error to part mapping record error. Okay. And it's only used there and where the error is used. Great. Let's just review these because I don't think it was used anywhere else. And then this is our new one, and this is the new stuff, and that's some white space stuff, and then we've got new tests. Yeah, good. We're good. Right, so now we've got the part mapper, and we've got the additional stuff that we need. What did we do? Let's look at the prod code. We generated errors. Yeah, generate errors when what? When there are no, or when there, wait, when there not exactly one mapping. Yeah. Generate error. Generate an error. I guess we could say generate part mapping. Yeah. Okay. We'll go with that. Seems reasonable. Okay. So now we're back to what we were trying to do here. So the next thing we've got to do is make this error be printed. And that ain't going to be happening right now. That ain't going to be happening. So let's see if we can find the code for that. So our binary is the thing that's printing the tree, right? We build the assembly variant, and then we build this mapping tree, right? And it prints it out. Now, arguably, we could just delete all this code and then write some UI code instead. But I think for sort of like tracing and logging purposes, this whole concept of building a tree and printing it out is still pretty useful. So let's crack on with that. Right. So we had this thing where we're putting in brackets if it's the first one, our sort of like fake pseudo selection thing. And we don't have any selection code now. We just need to print them all out and print an error if there was an error. This part mapping is not a part mapping anymore. But for some reason, it seems to think it is. So we've got this part mapping thing, and it's pulled this out from what? It's pulled this out from this, and this is a result and it's very confused about what this part thing here is now. So this is how you print out part mappings, which, you know, honestly seems fine. Let's delete this bit and just always add the label, right? We don't need this index thing anymore. And we don't need enumerate. Right. Let's steal this bit of code and say print mappings. No, let's do that the right way. Refactor. Extract method. No, not print. Add mapping nodes, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, but we're not passing a result. That's not what we want. We want this. Yeah, again, we're gonna have to deal with some lifetimes probably here. We're gonna find out. We might be able to elide them. I don't know whether it's possible. So now we've got to get this part mapping. So let's say if match part mappings, which isn't a part mappings. I'm going to rename it in a moment. And we're going to say if it's an error of type part mapping. Let's do the OK one first. OK part mapping. Okay, let's make this work. Let's rename this to part mappings result. Right, and then we're going to deal with the errors once everything compiles. Yeah. Off we go. Let's see what happens. Did that actually compile? It did. I think. Oh wow, it did. It actually compiled. I thought we were going to run into lifetime issues, but it worked it out. That's good then, I suppose. So yeah, clearly there were some errors, which is exactly what we wanted our test to do. Perfect. So now we can decide which error we want to handle first. We can go, if there was an error and it's a part mapping error of type multiple matching mappings, which is the case that we want to deal with, we still get part mappings, but we want to do something else. We want to add the mapping node still, right? We also need to create an error node. Placement error node, let's call it. And yeah, this is just a simple one. And for the text for which should be in our test. Unresolved mapping conflict. I guess we could be specific here as well. Multiple matching mappings. I don't know, but it's not really that though, is it? Because later there's going to be this sort of concept of like, how do we resolve it? We want to pass like a list of things that the user has decided that they want this scenario. Like, you always use the first one. Always use the one from the pick and place machine first. You know, and if there aren't any rules, then I suppose we need to, yeah. Let's not be specific here just yet. Let's say unresolved mapping conflict. That's what we want. Should we go error like this, or should we go error in caps and then what are the errors? Let's do this. Overuse of exclamation marks is not good. Right, so we do this and then we go dot to string, I think. Do we do that on here? Yeah, the other ones are strings. So then we can go, well, placement node dot leave dot push placement error node, right? The test might pass at this point if we try to run it. Yeah. What? No. Well, what happened then? I mean, it printed the stuff out. Oh. Oh, we're not printing out mapping failures at the end. So, how are we going to say there are mapping failures? So, I suppose the entire matched mappings thing could be an okay or a failure. You know? And then if it was an error, then we could print out the fact that there was an error. Seems reasonable. Okay. Because we don't want to sort of iterate over it and go searching for the errors, do we? No. This is already doing the iteration and adding the errors, so it already knows. So let's make this return a result of something. I don't know what. Because we've got this. Let's just go part mapper error. Because this is specifically the part mapper that we're dealing with. And then let's just go, let's put the errors down here. Error, no, enum. This, one of those, nothing in it yet. Copy these out because we know we're going to pair things because we've got tests that do that. And what we need to say here to make this be happy is okay with some results. Okay. Right. But now our tests aren't going to be compiling because they're going to be confused. So this is going to be okay with something in it, right? This one. This one is not going to be okay. This is going to be an error of a part mapper error of type something like mapping errors. Yeah, I suppose so. And then that error can have the stuff. Can have a processing result. Yeah, it seems fine. That seems okay. Part mapper error. Okay, so we're going to import that. We're going to create this. Create enum variant. That's better. And then I suppose our other one down here is the same, right? This is going to be an error of type part mapper error of mapping errors with stuff in it. Do I need another bracket? I think I do. I need another one here as well. There we go. Why didn't you tell me? Hey, why didn't you tell me? I can't wait for my new shark to arrive. It's going to be great. I'm going to put my shark like next to the camera. It's going to be great. Shark. Shark. What am I doing? What am I doing? I don't even know. Okay, we were trying to make that happen, weren't we? We were trying to print errors and stuff. Okay, let's review what it did up here. Okay, so this is going to need lifetimes on it. Part mapper error. So you've got a part mapper error and part mapping error. And then processing result, which seems okay. Seems okay. Think. Oh, kiddly dokely. Righto. So now this is a result. So you can print it out, and that's okay. But we've got this match mapping thing, and it goes match mapping, blah, blah, blah. So this is still true, even if it was an error. It still sort of matched a certain amount of things. Perhaps we don't want to say this if there was an error. Okay, let's think about that. So we're going to say let matched mappings is match. Oh dear. Matched mappings. Let's have a look at this. Let's call this. Let's call this something else other than what it currently is, which is processing result. I don't know. It's not match mapping, so that I do know. So we're going to match this processing result And if it is okay, then you get your whatever. And I want to return the whatever, right? But if it was an error of type part mapper error, oops. No. What are you doing? Come on, IDE. What are you doing? What's it doing? Why is it so confused about this? Part mapper error. Here, no? Where is it? Oh, we need to import it. Is it not public? No, it's not. That's why. That's why it's confused. Part mapper error, mapping errors, whatever. And we return the whatever. Because in both cases, we still have some results. What is it? Oh, I need another bracket. That was really weird. Did you see that? Look, it was going type mismatch when there was a missing bracket. That really threw me off there, that did. The thing is, we're going to consume that, which we don't want. So, because we're going to need to use this again in a minute. So the result needs to be a reference to these things, right? What is this? Let's say mappings. In both cases. Seems reasonable. So matching mappings. So fine. So now we've got matching mappings as opposed to matched mappings. So let's fix the name of that. Right. So now in both cases, we can say, here, off you go. This build mapping tree wanted a vector, but it's not going to get that. It's going to get a reference to a vector. That might still compile, but we're still not printing the error message out. We've got to print the error message. Let's just refer back to this. So we've still not printed that yet. Single lifetime specifier. Yeah, so part mapper error has placements and mappings. Okay, it compiles. There's no point me running it because I know it's going to fail, and I know the reason why it's going to fail. It's going to fail because of this. So we go back to this, and now we're going to deal with this. So we're going to look at this processing result again. And we're going to print out the tree, and then we're going to match processing result again. And I'm just going to use a reference to it. And we're going to say if it's okay with some mappings, then do nothing. Fine. But if it's an error, there's going to be something else that happens here later, so I'll leave that in for now. If it's an error, Yeah, of part mapping error type mapping. Oh, no. Part mapper error of type mapping errors with the mappings. Then print out the error, right? We can go error, tracing error, and then say, that's going to be interesting. Oh, it's not that error that we're dealing with. Duh. We're dealing with this one. Mapping failures. Yeah, I've just noticed something. This is on here. Shouldn't be. Yeah. Okay, fine. The rest are okay. It was just that one. So, yeah. And we have to prefix this with an underscore, otherwise it will complain. We could just use an underscore for these, in fact, because we don't care about the mappings here. And we haven't written any code for this yet, so whatever. And then I suppose at some point we're going to have to deal with this. Not yet. Let's run it. Do we want... Oh, it's failing. Yeah, there were quite a few changes. Let's have a look. So the error is expected string not found, mapping failures, remaining content. Nothing. Okay. Well, that was unexpected. We've got a mapping tree, and it says unresolved mapping conflict, which is good. And it found that. And this is, you see where I just clicked in that stack trace. This is why I'm sort of preferring this assert in order thing at the moment, because if I was using this one, it would just show me this line number, and then you'd have to sort of trawl through the list. Ow. That was my knee on my desk. So, mapping failures with a /n. So you got the expected part mapping tree, but is there really... I'm a little bit confused by this now, because we've got a test. Let's get rid of some of these other things. We've got a test for the part mapper that says, oh, yeah. Oops. We haven't got a test. We're missing something somewhere. Are we? Wait. Yeah. How did we not run these? Maybe I didn't run them. Because the tests look like they're right, because they both say error. So these should both be failing, right? Yeah, okay. That was close. Okay, go back to the code. All right. So we're always returning okay here. So we haven't written a bit of code that says if you detect one or more errors, then return an error. Right. So let's say let but error count is 0. Mutable things. Yeah, I know. You could probably do all this without using any mutable stuff, using streams and all this kind of folding things and all this kind of stuff. It's just, don't fancy it. Don't fancy it. Okay, so error count. So what we need to do is go if, oh, I suppose we can do a match. Match error count. Why not? 0. Okay results. Anything else? I32. No. U size. You can't have negative errors. Because I want to say 1 dot dot here. And if I didn't make it a U size, then you'd get a compiler error. Because the less than 0 case wouldn't be happy. So we're gonna go error with part mapper error, mapping errors with results. Right. Now these results, we call them mappings elsewhere. So let's call these mappings everywhere. We've got result, processing result. The name of that probably needs to be fixed. Because when you don't know what it is exactly you're doing, you just go like processing result and it's fine. You're doing some processing and you get a result. Hey, fantastic. And then only once you've done more can you like give it a proper name. So that's what we're going to do. So now these tests might pass. And the other test might pass now too. The functional test, integration test, whatever you want to call it. No, this is not going to pass, is it? We've not incremented the error counter yet. Ugh. So yeah, we need to do a bit more tinkering here. There's a few different ways we could do this. We could increment the error counter inside the match block and then return the thing. Or we could return an error increment in addition to that as well. I don't know. I mean, like, it's probably more readable to go just do it the naive way. So we go error count plus equals 1. Hopefully there'll never be too many errors to overflow it. And then we go error count plus equal 1. Sure. You know. And if it's okay, there's not. This isn't sort of code that it doesn't need to be the most idiomatic thing ever. It just needs to be understandable. Let's have a look. So I think these should pass now. Yeah, they do. So now the other test should pass. I reckon it's going to pass. Pass or fail. Pass or fail. Do, 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 do. Here we go. And our scurvy says, error. Yeah, look, it worked. It worked. Amazing. And I guess if we scroll right on here, mapping failures, it says in the trace log. That's exactly what we want. Happy days. I've not got my favourite mug today, but it does match walls, more or less, and my desk. It's fairly close, but it's not exact. Colour match, that is. All right. Let's do a commit. I think that's pretty good. That we're happy there. Let's have a look at this part mapper first. What do? We made the part mapper return errors. Yeah. Yeah, and we can't do it without doing this stuff too. We could do it without doing this, but I think it's all fine for like one commit. Let's get rid of this little bit of white space where everything's fine here. I didn't review this when we extracted it. It looks okay though. Yeah. Seems reasonable. What do we do? So we basically made the part mapping display errors. Yeah. Display errors when the part mapper cannot resolve conflicts. Happy days. Yeah. That's great. I suppose here, this mapping tree could be mapping results. Mapping result. The tree is a thing, singular, I suppose. But you're mapping each of the placements, so it could be placement, mapping, placements, mapping result probably is fine. Yeah, okay, let's fix that. That won't take a moment. Right. So we're going to say mapping result. We don't really care that it's a tree. Users don't care the fact that it's a tree, really. They just want to see what the result of the mapping was. Yeah. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. Right, fine. So just like improve naming of mapping tree in, yeah, sure. Okay, fine. Right. So now that we've got errors, um, we can ask the user to fix them. That's where we're going with all this, right? Git push. Ah, there's a new to do. Okay, let's have a look at this first. We're not quite done. We don't have a functional test for where there are no mappings. So I can't add this. So in order to add this bit of code, I either need to extract the code for build mapping tree into its own file and then write unit tests for it, or I could add some code to the functional test. But the functional test is already pretty large. Do we want to create tests for that? This level. Mapping nodes, placement tree, building a tree. Yeah. Okay. Let's extract it. Let's move it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So these are the alternatives. So if we go back to the variant builder functional test, one alternative is to add a new placement, add it to the assembly variant, and then create no part mappings for it. It wouldn't be too bad because there's only one addition. Then do we want to show all the different types of errors in this functional test here? I'm gonna do it from here now. I might change my mind on this. Let's add C1 to this. So we're going to create a capacitor. Oops. And it's going to be a cap 0402, and it's going to be 10 microfarad, 20%, and let's say 6.3 volts. Do we want the voltage first? Yeah, you do. Put the voltage first. Tolerance last, because then at least we're consistent with how the resistors are specified, right? So we've got C2. So we'll add that to our assembly variant, but not create a part for it at all. No mappings. So there's not actually much to add to this. So this is probably not so bad. And then we need to say C1 here. Yeah, it's not, the impact isn't too bad on this actually. So I'm sort of okay with it. If there was too much impact on this, then I might decide to do it at a unit test level. If there's loads of other extra things we have to come back to print out this mapping tree or whatever like this later, we can review that decision. So what we're going to say is something like this, but not these. And then we're going to say C1, cap 0402. And the value of this was 10 microfarad, 6.3 volts, 20%, I believe. And we're going to say unresolved mapping conflict again. Let's go back to our binary. And it basically means we're going to need to add handling to this, which is going to be very similar to this. Let's extract this. And make an inline one. Add error. This, it doesn't really belong outside here, I don't think. I think we're going to put that here so that we can easily say add error node again, because it's the same code, right? No mappings. Oh, it wasn't the same. You don't get the mappings. Could do this. Part mappings. Option. Seems reasonable. Something like that. It's probably fine. Add error node with mappings. Add error node with no mappings. Comma. Another comma. That's probably okay. I guess the add error node is not actually adding errors. Yeah, no. Okay. That was the wrong decision. We're going to do it like this. It's not just adding the error node. The clue was in the name. No. Okay. So you add the mapping nodes, you add the error node, or you add the error node, or you add the mapping nodes. Run it again. Yeah, that's going to be better. Inline functions are nice. Okay, why is it failing? It says, oh, well, we don't get C1 in the output. What did we miss here? So we've got C1 here, right? This is wrong. Wait, what? Oh, loaded 3 placements. Yeah, it's not even getting to this bit yet. So it loaded 4 placements firstly, and then there's supposed to be C1 on this list as well. Not sure about this counter. Mapped 2 placements to 2 parts. I'm not sure about that either right now. That's probably still correct. But why didn't it get C1 in the list, refdex list? Parts. Oh, because I put C. I typoed. Damn it. Okay, fine. Nobody told me. Nobody told me I made the typo. I probably said C2. You have to go back and rewind the stream and see. All right, still failing. Why? Okay, but this is good now. Look here. So yeah, unresolved mapping conflict. This is good. So expected string not found. It matched 2 placements. What was actually in there? Let's have a look. It says matched 3 placements. Did it actually match 3 placements? Really? What matched? Is this error? Is this information not good enough? It did match 3 placements because that message relates to the assembly variant. Match 3 placements what? Like for variant. I think this is going to be better if I can type properly. Yeah. That's going to be better. And we've also got to unfutz this as well. I'm going to carry on maintaining both of these for the moment. But I'm probably going to not fairly soon. Loaded 4 placements, 3 parts, 3-part mappings, assembly variant, needs a capacitor in the list. Match 3 placements for the assembly variant, which is right. Mapped 2 placements to 2 parts. But it says mapped 3 placements to 3 parts. That's the bit I'm not quite sure about. That's not right. That's not right. I think that number's like, I don't know how useful this number is right now, because in one case, one of the placements matches 2 parts. In one case, it matches no parts, and in one case, it matches only 1 part. So maybe the count is correct, but is it useful? I'm not sure it's useful. I'm not sure it's useful because it gives you a false sense of security. Like, you're like, well, you know, there's 3 placements and there's 3 parts that I got. What's wrong? Right? Yeah, not sure about this. I mean, we added it so that we could write some code, right? But is it useful? Is it still useful? Mapped blah placements to blah parts. Matched placement count. Ah, you see, yeah, you see, because it's looking at this. It's not really. I don't think it's useful. We could sit there and fix it, but then you'd have to sort of iterate over each of the things in the matched mappings, some of which could be errors and some of which could have more than one. And it would still print out 3 and 3 for this functional test, which isn't useful. I think it's misleading. So I'm going to delete it. Executive decision. Bye. No. No. We've got the tree and we've got our error now. Yeah. Problem solved. Deleting code. Happy days. Love deleting code. It's the best. Oh, there's a warning. There was a warning. Does not need to be mutable. Yeah, no, it doesn't. I never typed that. That was the IDE. It passes. It passes. It passes. Cool. Okay, let's run all the other tests. Oh. And then we're going to have a quick coffee. And then we're going to go choose your interface. I hope. Because I've had this tab. Where is it? I've had this tab sitting here for like 2 days now. And I've got this bit of code sitting there waiting for me to copy and paste it. And maybe understand it too. Right, let's do a commit, get coffee, and then we'll see. Right, so what did we do? We blah 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 blah. Well, there's a couple of things we did. We improved. This isn't the main thing that we did, but I'll write it now because it's on the screen. Improved messaging around assembly variant matching. Okay, that's one thing we did, but it wasn't the main thing that we did. Let's go to the test, because the test should describe what the main thing it was that we did. It was this error handling. Yeah. Yeah. So it was sort of like add error handling. Add error handling for it's the for the case where there are no mappings. For the case where there are no mappings for a placement. Yes, that's what we did. All of this stuff, probably. Let's have a look. Quick white space check. So in order to do that, we had to create a new placement record, but then not create any parts or criteria or part mapping records for it, so that it appears in the part mapping tree when we specify it as one of the components in the refdes list. And then we had to update the counters and remove something that didn't make sense anymore. Yeah, that seems okay. And that's where we removed stuff. And then this is where we added the error handling. Happy days. Okay, all looks good. Right. Push. I ran all the tests right. Let's do a quick run all the tests on the command line. When there's only one developer on a project, it's like oh, I don't have a terminal open. Okay, let's open a terminal. Go to MakerPnP. All right then. Could have MakerPnP. And then we have to go cargo. What? No. Where's my rune of the day? Here it is. Probably could have remembered that, but you know, why waste brain cells and remembering things when I can copy and paste? Right, it's also running an extra set of tests, which we don't necessarily need to do. This is like the doc tests that it's doing. We need to fix that up at some point because we haven't got any doc tests, but I'm not doing it just yet. Because when we start adding a doc test, the doc test might not even be building, and we don't want to face a situation where you want to add a doc test and the doc tests aren't building. So we'll keep the doc tests at least compiling. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it feels like everything's okay there. So let's push. Looks like everything's okay. Not feels like. Here we go. Look at this. Loads of commits today. This is good, isn't it? Push. Push 5 commits. Let's do a git fetch. Master. No outstanding commits. Happy days. Git status. Git log. Loads of stuff. Cool. All right. Coffee time. All right. I am going to be back in a few minutes. So I'll put the holding thing up. There we go. Okay, everybody, welcome back. So, got my coffee. Not drunk it yet. It's in Wally. But not only that, I've got a tasty croissant to go with it as well. So, let's have a bit of coffee and have a little munch while we're thinking about what we're supposed to be doing next. So, now that we've got the ability to try mapping placements to things, we can now we can now try and ask the user to fix the problems. Right. Right. But in order to do that, we need to change our functional test. So at the moment, we expect that these things happen, and there were mapping failures. This is the thing we added earlier. Let's bring back this. Here we go. So mapping failures, this is the thing we added earlier. So now I suppose we can start adding sort of like trace logs for user interface actions or something, I suppose. What could the user potentially even do about this? So this is the situation that the user is going to be faced with. So imagine if this was displayed on the screen in front of you in a user interface, and the user interface construct / widget that that we're thinking about using. Was the where's it gone? Examples. We're looking for widget table. I think it was table. This is the one we tried yesterday, right? Table. Yeah. Where's the picture of it? I want to see a picture. Where's the list of widgets? Let's just go introduction. Ah, here it is. This is it. This is widgets. Isn't there a list of widgets somewhere? Yeah, here they are. Okay. Now, currently we've got a tree like this. So you could do a user interface which has a one-to-one mapping of this tree and whatever, but really we don't really have a tree. We just have a list, really. Essentially, we've got like R1, C1, J1, whatever. But because of the way that we're printing this out and we've got other things that are related to that other thing, we created a little tree so that it's clearer what the things relate to when they're printed out like this, right? But in a user interface, you've essentially just got a list of placements, and then you've got a potential list of things that map to it or an error. So if you imagine a user interface, let's break out MS Paint. Trusty MS Paint. Here we go. Well, that's bright. I'm sorry. I'm going to fill it with black. Don't worry. Whew. There we go. All right. Can we draw? Can we draw? We right click draw. It'd be nice if there was like swap colors like on this, wouldn't it? Because I have to do this and then that. Right, but even when you cut and then move something, it leaves it. Fill it with the background color, Microsoft, you muppets. God, one of these days they'll get paint right. Anyway, grumpiness aside, back to this. Okay, so we can draw stuff. So imagine that you've got a user interface and it looks like this. I don't know. Let's get rid of that. I don't know which. Maybe there's extra bits to this user interface, but this is my first thought. When I'm drawing user interfaces, I always forget to not to draw, like the whole box, because most of the time the stuff that you draw doesn't fit. And say we've got this here, and we say R1, and then J, and then C1 and J1. Right? R1, C1, J1. And then let's say the cursor is on this. And when you move the cursor around, and this is like a scroll bar thing, right? And say it's at the top. Yeah, everything's visible, whatever, You know what a scroll bar looks like. Fine. And when the cursor's on this, the thing on the right-hand side. Right, again, haven't I? Look, the thing on the right-hand side. Let me put a divider and finish this box. And then the thing on the right-hand side will say it'll say res 1 res 1. Okay. And it could be these could be multi-line tables with more information relating to that resistor, such as its description. Because you're going to need more information, I don't know, and maybe the price that you last bought it at, in order to make a decision as to which ones you're going to use. And also potentially how old the stock even is. There's all manner of things that you could do. And you could probably, have this list so that it's sorted by whatever. Which we can add at some point, I suppose. But right now, we just need a list of the things that you could pick so that you can pick one. And then underneath that, we're going to have res mfr2 res 2. Right? And then blah, 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 blah. And then I guess in order to select one, I guess you're going to need to know whether it is selected to start with, because obviously it won't be to start with, and then it will be. And there'll be a reason why it's selected. There'll be a reason why it's selected. Let's think about this. What are the reasons why it might be selected? One, because there was a rule that said select it. And the rule was created by the user in the user interface. So this rule could be called user selected. Right? In the case where you've got a resistor on, my apologies, In the case where you've got, say, a resistor and there's only one mapping, that rule would be, it would be displayed as auto-selected because it is auto-selected. Now, that's an interesting concept, actually, if we think about this. Because should we auto-select? Should the user be expected to confirm everything, is what I'm thinking. Like review, confirm, accept kind of thing. I mean, if there's lots of parts on your board, it might be a bit of a faff to do it. I guess it could be an option to say auto select where there's only one rule, when there's only one part matching, or never auto select. Anyway, yeah, we could do that. So another rule will be auto selected. Another rule could be user, confirmed, for instance, if there's only one. And it would be auto-selected, but the user had that option off, and then they had to confirm it, and then they used the UI and they confirmed it. So we need to say like why, what. Oops, this is what, and this is why. Oh, that was too many squiggles for the letter W, and then we say why. Now we can come up with better titles for these at some point. And let's say, so we're looking at this, and it's the first time that we're seeing this. Unconfirmed, maybe? Unconfirmed. Let's go with this. And this is going to be unconfirmed. Right. Now imagine you've got yeah. Put this little thing in across here. That's fine. And then we'll just put a little divider here, just for this concept that we're trying to come up with. So you use your cursor keys, you go up and down on the left-hand side, you press cursor right, you go onto the right-hand side. And if you pressed enter on it, it could pop up a little dialogue and ask you what you want to do. Such as create a part mapping or rule to do it, and then it could show you a list of parts, or you could say, okay, it matched these parts, but do you want to confirm it? Sure. And you go yes, or create new part rule or something like this, right? And then they would say okay, or they would cancel it on this little thing that came up. I mean, that seems fairly reasonable. Okay, so say they've done all that and they've confirmed everything. Then they would need to, they save perhaps, or continue. Probably just continue, really, isn't it? So I'm going to draw it on the screen, but it's going to be behind. I don't know. How do we want this to look? Do we just want a little button at the bottom that says continue? How do you get to it? Do you press tab to get to it? Probably. Do I want to deal with tab orders and all this kind of stuff? I don't know. What about pressing escape? How about you press escape and then you get to go okay, or maybe save and continue, save and cancel or something. I don't know. Yeah. Let's say they press escape. Let's just say they press escape. And then I don't have to think about anything other than, you know, sort of like left, right, up, down, enter, escape for now. Yeah, and it'll make the layout easier and all this kind of stuff as well, right? So yeah, so then they get to press escape, and then it would save it, and would then try again, right? And then if it didn't work, it should work because you'd have resolved everything. Then it will do what it needs to do, which we haven't decided yet, but you know, this is part of the process. What else? What else are we going to need here? Hmm. Nom nom nom. Right. So during this process of confirming things or selecting things and all this kind of stuff, some state somewhere is going to have to be created. And this is what I was saying about these rules or whatever, right? So I think we're going to have to come up with some notion of some resolution rules or something. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the code for a moment. Right. Okay, look, we can do this next bit without touching any UI code. These ones, we can't do anything about until we've got a UI. This one, we can. We can say auto selected here. Yeah, right. Yeah. So if we say auto selected here, then that's going to cause us to futz around with the part mapper and add something else to its result in addition to the part mapping. Huh. Auto selected should be hyphenated. Okay. How do we make that happen? Okay, I like this. Okay, let me save this before I forget what it is that we're doing. We're gonna go links, and then we're gonna go MakerPnP, and we're gonna go MakerPnP. No. We're gonna go. Why is this here? Oh. Get rid of that. Let's go UI design, text UI design. Here we go. Something about mapping resolution, yeah. Mapping resolution. Something like that. Okay. Right. So we're gonna try and do this. Oh man. One of these days one of these days we're gonna use bits of this code. Apparently it's not yet. I knew something else was gonna come up and stop me from doing this right now. I knew it. I knew it. Okay. So we've got this part mapper. And currently it returns a result of vec of processing results or part mapping errors, right? The processing result is probably what we need to change. Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it? Part mapping result, which contains a part mapping and a rule enum, maybe? Could work, I suppose. We've got this part mapping. Yeah, multiple match mappings, blah blah blah. Yeah. Part mapping. This isn't part mappings anymore. This is, let's fix this. This is a mapping result. There we go. Right. And this is used in these places. Need to make this a bit bigger. And then this is where it creates it. Yeah, okay. So let's have a look at the first one of these. So when you say map parts, all of these parts map to all of these other parts, and we get a bunch of mapping results. Which is the same case as there only being sort of one. And then this one is different, and this one is different. So we need to, this is the one that we need to change. So let's say let's change the thing that's in this vector to say do we even need a vector here? Do we need a vector at this point? Because you could either have a matched rule with a part, right, or an error containing all the potential candidates, right? That'd be one way of doing it. To be honest, that way is probably more useful for downstream processing of this stuff. So with that in mind, let's try doing the downstream processing of these results first and see what we actually need to do. And we do have a test for it. Okay, so see here it adds the mapping nodes, right? Do we want to show in this tree? We don't have this situation yet in the functional test. Do we want to show in this tree the one that was selected by the rule and the other ones that could be selected? Let me think about this. And from the UI side of things, yes. We do. We do. I don't think we just want one in this because there's going to be this. Let's go back to the UI, right? So say you choose one. Yeah, how are you going to display this user interface easily if you've got a one and a list of things or whatever? It's going to be confuzzling to display the list and iterate and go out and process the items in the list and go from one to the next if one is in one object and the rest of them are in another object, right? It's going to be tricky to do it. So I think we will keep the vector. We'll keep the vector. Right. So let's look at the test again. So this one, we say auto-selected like this. So where we say auto-selected is here, right? So let's try and write this bit of code. And let's go. Let's say part. Yeah, okay. Let's do this. Part label is going to be part details. Noise word. But it is actually the details of the part. Let's just say part. And reason. Yeah, just thinking of ways to join these things in a you know, you could go join and you could go base, right? But let's say chunks, and then go let mut vec whatever chunks is one of these, and it's going to start with a part label, right? And then if there's a rule that says it's auto selected, we can add another chunk to it. Okay, but we need this rule from somewhere now. Great. Reason, rule, applied rule. Yeah, applied rule sounds pretty good. Applied rule. I don't know what it's going to look like. Let's use it. Let's make it applied mapping rule. This looks good. Let's just create an enum for this. It's going to be here for now. It's in the wrong place. We'll move it. Don't worry. And we're going to say auto-selected. Because that's what we said. So, okay, but we've got an applied rule, but it's not here though, is it? You see, this is the problem. It needs to be over here. Oh dear. Uh, there can be a situation. I might be thinking ahead of myself here. Mm-mm-mm-mm. I'm thinking of introducing a tuple structure. But I don't like tuple structures because you have to go dot 0 and dot 1 on them. They're fine in some cases. Result. Let's see. Where does this get? How does this get called? It gets called from here. And then this part mappings comes from. Oh wait. So we got part mappings result. But we don't have a part mapping result, I don't think. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to say instead of having part vector of reference to part mappings, we're going to have the vector of part mapping result. And this is going to contain an optionally applied mapping rule and the part mapping. I think. Applied rule. And it's going to be, I said it's going to be an option of one of these. But before that, and more importantly, it's going to have a part mapping, which is either going to be applied or not applied. This seems fairly reasonable at the moment. Right, and because there's this, we need a mapping lifetime, which means we need a mapping lifetime here, which... Why is that complaining? Missing lifetime specified. It's not, I just specified it. What are you talking about? Oh. Oh, this needs a... Right. And then now this is going to... It's... I don't know if it's going to work it out or not at this point. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. 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 So. Okay. So this needs to be part mapping result. Right, but this is now wrong. Because we need part mapping here still. Right, but we don't have it. We can use the destructuring thing here. We can go part mapping result rule. Wait, get it right. Part mapping and applied rule. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now we've got our part mapping again, and now we can access the rule. So we can go if let some rule is rule, then applied rule, yeah, good. Then we can build a chunk like we said we were going to, which is going to be rule chunk. This needs to be part chunk. Yeah, because we're making chunks, right? Hope no one went out on the beers last night and they're not thinking about chunks. Let a rule chunk. What's this going to be? We're going to use format, aren't we? We're going to put some brackets. And then I suppose we implement display for this, probably. Rule. Right? Let's do that. Impl display for applied part mapping rule, whatever. And then we need to do it. There we go, match self. Auto selected. Yeah. And then I forget how you implement display. You go right, and right, the right macro is what you use. We go right. Is that what we said in our test? No. Auto selected. Now it is. Missing tokens. Why? How are we supposed to implement display again? Oh, you've got to use the format. You've got to give it the formatter. You've got to foot it. Righto. Okay, that seems fine. Now we've got this rule chunk. And then we can go chunks.push rule chunk. Right. So now we know what we want to do for the other stuff. Fine. Now obviously we've got this part mapping result thing, and we've broken stuff. So where we call this, it wants part mappings, and part mappings is this. Which is a vector of part, but this is not right. This method says it wants part mapping results. So let's change this to be part mapping results so that we're less confused by this. And that was the same here. That's interesting, actually. Add mapping nodes. Because our multiple matched mappings error doesn't necessarily need to have rules on it. Uh, mm, do I want to change the type of stuff that's in this error? Or have I got this? Where do we create this error? Yeah. This is sort of where we're applying the rules. So this matching mappings thing probably is going to be after the rules that are applied. Okay, so yeah, okay, fine, fine, fine. We're okay. We're okay. So these are results in here basically. Because yeah, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do the auto selected? Well, I guess once we get the list, we go if there's only one of them, then get the first one and add the rule to it. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, okay. All right, we're good. We're good. Oh, I did that the wrong way. So this now needs not this, right? And now we can move this enum thing to the right place probably. So this stuff shouldn't be here. It should be in here. And, you know, we're going to have to do all this comparing and debugging and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to put this in here. This is going to need to be public. This is going to need to be public as well. This is going to need to have all this stuff on it. Right, fine. We did all that. Okay. So now we can go back to here and do some imports. Right. Right. This is complaining because of the type here, which is fine. This is not right still. Because this is supposed to be results, and we said the results were vector of these, right? So it's supposed to be I don't know, we're going to have to deal with these lifetimes in a minute, but it's going to be a vector of these. And because it's got a part mapping in it, it's going to probably need, yeah, the lifetime of the mapping, which is fine. Okay. Right, what's next? Go back here. So that made this happy because it knows that this is this, right? Which is fine. This thing is not happy. So let's carry on in this file first before we go anywhere else. So this results here is also wrong. This thing comes from here. This matched mappings. Wait, what? Okay, fine. Okay, we're good. I think there might be a little hiccup in the stream just there, but it seems to have reconnected. Okay. I think at this point, we let the compiler tell us what the problems are, and we fix them. Right. So, matched mappings here is currently a vector of part mappings. No. And it's got its type because we've added one of these things to it. But what we're going to need to do is go part. What are we doing? What's it called? Expected part mapping result. Right. Yes. Part mapping result, where the part mapping is this. And the rule is none. Right, we're good. Right, and that's sorted that out. Now our tests are a little bit confuzzled. So this is going to be a part mapping result where the part mapping is this. And oops. And the rule is none. And the other one's going to be like that too. Quickly. Looks good. But we lied. For this test, where we map parts and there's one part for every placement and there's only one criterion, there's only one part mapping, we actually want auto-selected. So this is going to be we've got this rule thing, haven't we? Applied mapping rule. This is going to be applied mapping rule of type auto-selected. Okay. Now it seems to be wanting something. Why? Oh, yeah. Oh, no. No. Some rule was applied. Right, some rule was applied. That's what we want. Now here, I don't know. We'll come back to it. Multiple matching mappings. So this needs to be something else. This is going to have to be part mapping result, where the part mapping is this and the applied rule is none. Right? I think so. Yeah. For the error ones. Right. No applied rules. That's good. So apparently nothing ever uses these. I mean, it does, just not in here. It's showing that result because these aren't marked as public. So it doesn't know that someone else is using them. Okay, so we just build that again. Unused macro use import. Oh, this is I think that should probably be in here. Okay, that probably, we can move that as a separate commit. We'll do that. We'll do that a bit later. You know, you could stash it and then do a commit and then do it back, but it's the idea is fairly easy. Has a fairly good user interface for like pulling individual changes from a commit. If there's lots of changes that are unrelated and they're all cobbled together in the same file and you want to run the test before you do it, then you know, yeah, you should stash them and then make the change and then bring the changes back from the stash and then run your tests and then. Oh no. Oh, I just hoovered in it today. Okay. What happens? It's going to fail because nothing's adding the auto-selected rule. Perfect. So what we got was this, and what we wanted was this. Applied rule none. There you go. But we wanted this. Okay, so now we can make it do that. Fine, here we go then. That was somewhere in here, right? So I suppose we could do it right here, right? Art mapping results. If there's only one result, then we could do it here, yeah. We could go dot, well, okay, I guess bracket first one, and we know there's one. We can say applied rule is some applied rule auto-selected. That's probably it. That's probably it, right? And you shouldn't get a compilation error from this. You shouldn't. We might get a compilation error from this. We will. You can't use unchecked. Yeah. We know it's safe to call unwrap on this because there's one of them, exactly one of them. But it doesn't seem to. Oh, that's interesting. I thought this was going to give us some back an optional one of those. Maybe that's what the get thing does. I think that's what get does, perhaps. And this just fails if you can't access it. So it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. That should pass now, right? I think it's going to pass. Yeah. Right. Does the integration test pass? It might. I think it will. I'm going to go pass. Oh, well, fine. Ugh. Whatever. We'll have to come back and deal with that warning later then, I suppose. We're going to have to go if feature whatever on this, which it worked. So I was right, but I was wrong in that the test passed, but I didn't know that the compilation error was going to occur. Fine, we'll come back to that. So yeah, cool. We can apply rules. Look at this. Let's review. We've got our build thing, and when we give it a bunch of stuff, we get a tree out there, and it says we auto-selected something. Excellent. So we have the concept of application rules. This is good. This is very good. Right. Right. What do we want to do now? We want to do a commit. That's what we want to do. Don't forget to say hi in the chat. And if there's anything you've found fun, don't forget to leave timestamp comments on the stream. That'd be very helpful, and then I can stick them all in the video description. Right. What do? We auto select parts. Auto select parts when there is only one mapping rule. Is everything else that we did related to that statement? Let's have a look. So we create matching result, matching. The name of this, let's have a quick look at this. The name of this, matching mappings. Is it really matching mappings? No, it's not. It's part mapping results. From which you may apply a rule or increase an error count and create a result. Doesn't seem totally unreasonable. The method's growing a bit though. Growing a bit. Definitely growing a bit. All right, and then we've created our rule and we've changed it so that the get mapping result. And now we've got these concept of rules in there. There should be a bit of white space there. And then we change our expectations to say that we want to use rules, and then we say more of the same, and changing the name of this. This is good. This processing chart, I think I've found what the new name of this is. Is it a placement part mapping result? Placement part mapping result. All right. Someone remember that. Placement part mapping result. Okay, and then this is all related to the thing that we've already typed in, the message that we've already typed in. part mapping, placement mapping. Yeah, okay. Then we can come back and review some of these names of these things. Yeah. Okay. Bit. So let's go back to that. Placement, part, mapping, result is what I said. Processing result, part mapper. I said placement, part, mapping, result. Mm-hmm. And this is a result, but it contains multiple things inside itself. That's okay. Yeah, fine. Let's see where this is used and look at the names of the things that we assign them to potentially. Yeah. Not that many places, actually. No, it's fine. There we go. Let's see where this is used. Yeah. Still a result here. And then, yeah, no, everything's fine. Ta-da! Named well. Maybe like that. Yeah. So what did we do? We renamed processing result to placement part mapping result. That's what I think we did. Right, and the other change was related to that, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? That's definitely better. Cool. I don't care about that. Go away. Dunsky. Let's push. Oh, let's run the tests. Let's run all the tests. That one. Passing green happiness of success. Yeah. This is good. That's what we're going to try and build still. Using this first. We gotta push. No. Here. Wait, no. I find it easier here. Control Shift K. Let me do that once. Control Shift K. Yeah, there we go. Return. Pushing but push a lot. Okay. Right. Back to the test. Those are the tabs. We've still got this to do. It's getting closer. It's getting closer, isn't it? It's been there. It's been on the live stream screenshot for 2 days now. This to do. Not easy. Not easy. What do we want to do? Okay, so we've got this concept of like the Y now. This thing over here. We've got this now. Oh, I didn't pick this thing. Here we go. We've got this now. So if we were to use our UI and scroll down to J1 with our thing, it would say auto selected in the Y next to the what, which is good. But we've still now got to deal with the R1 C1 situation where the user needs to do something. Okay. How about we say, as the first thing to do, displaying as in a log message, like trace message, right? Something that happens in the UI. Displaying placement confirmation dialogue. Yeah, go on. Why not? We'll come back to it later. That seems entirely reasonable to allow us to copy and paste some ratatouille code in. Okay, so we've got mapping failures, we've got our tree, and we've got all this, and then we're going to say displaying. What did I say? Got what I said. What did I call this? Placement mapping confirmation. Yeah, placement mapping confirmation dialogue. Right. Finally, we have a reason to write some UI code. And we'll have a failing test. Let's make it fail. We know it's going to fail, right? Yeah. We're also going to put this in this as well. Yeah, I still haven't come back to this, but you know, whatever. Right, so we've got a failing test. We can write some UI code. Right, well, that's going to be failing for quite a while, that is. Right then. So now we've got to learn how to use Ratatouille, having never used it before. We've got to do keys, we've got to do events, we've got to do widgets, we've got to do a main loop and everything now. Oh, it's getting serious. It's getting serious. And for those joining, one of the things I said in the past was any architecture that lets you defer decisions to a later date is a good architecture. And you can see we've already written 2 weeks almost worth of code, and we've not even started writing UI code, and I deferred that decision to a later date. Happy days. Happy days. All right then. So yeah, we've got our variant builder, right? So it builds assembly variant. Let's have a look at the main. Let's have a look at main. Where's the structure of this? Main. So we go build assembly variant. Let's go into this. So this is what we do currently, and we return OK at the bottom. But that's no good. What are we gonna do here? What are we gonna do? I'm thinking dependencies, I'm thinking separate crate, and I'm thinking a lot of things right now. Do I want to bung all this UI code in here? No. Don't. Placement part mapper result. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Right. So where do I want to put my UI? Not in this bin. That's what I know. Yeah. Okay. Let's just go. Console UI run. I don't know. And we'll give it. No, what do we want to do here? How do we structure this? Honestly, I don't know at this point. I do not know. No idea. Let's just do it. And this will be like our main in some other thing. Now, there's a bit of an issue because run is a bit meh. How about we say resolve? Let's say what we want to do. We want to resolve mapping failures. Yeah, sure. I mean, there might need to be this sort of loop around all this stuff, right? Where we have to run this bit again. But it's fine for now. It's fine for now because, we could expect the user just goes save at the end of it and then they just run the thing again and it does it again. And then we can rejigger it so that they can run it from within the UI at some point in the future. So it's fine. Resolve mapping failures. And then we've got this thing here, look. So let's move this to here. And we've got this, it's not really mappings, it's like placement part mapping results. Let's have a look at this. Mapping errors, yeah. Yeah. Result. Processing result. This is this. Placement part mapping results. Yeah. Yeah, technically we are just pulling out the mappings from here, but is this matched mappings or is this something else? Placement part mapping result. Is it a vector of these? It was a vector of these. But what are these? These are placement part mapping results. I'm going to leave it. We're going to say mappings here for now until I can think of a better name for that. They're not really mappings at this point. It's sort of like results, isn't it? Let's just call it no, I can't think of a name for it. Fine, whatever. And then we don't even have this yet, so let's just go console UI double colon or whatever. We're just going to do that. Console UI, yeah. Okay, fine. Where's this going to live? Not in the binary. Okay. Let's say I'm hesitating because I know I'm going to need another crate for all this UI stuff. But right now, I don't want to deal with multiple crates and reorganizing the code into multiple crates. Let's write some code and then reorganize it. But sometimes writing in the first place, in the right place, first time is right. Anyway, mod console UI. UI. Here we go. Create a file. Yes, add it to Git. So now we've got a console UI. Shiny. Right. Now we can go back to our bin. And maybe add, we can't. So if we go mod hub mod. Well, what is this? No. Struct. What am I? Duh. Come on, brain. Console UI. Okay, here we go. It's got to be public. Now we can import it. Ta-da! Right. Now we can create an associated function. And now we've got a place to do stuff. Great. And what is this? We're going to say mappings, even though we know it's not really mappings. I think of a good name for that, a good short name for it that describes it properly. Matt. Matt says, tool is looking neat. Checking inventory to see what needs to be ordered is definitely one of the time-consuming processes. Hell yeah, it is. Hell yeah, it is. And with the, you got the same machine as me, haven't you? So, and with the CHMT32, because of the faff of unloading and reloading the feeders, you don't want to take things out of the feeders. So if you've got two match parts, if you know, and one of them's already in the machine, you don't want to pick out the other one, and you just want to have it go, yes, this one, use that one, it's already in the machine. Other machines where you can change the feeders and stuff on it easily, or you've got them, like it's on the bed or whatever, that doesn't really matter so much. But for the CHMT where there's overhead in changing the feeders and changing the feeder setup, it's very important to just use what's in the machine. Because known working stuff that's already in the machine is way better than unloading a reel, putting a new reel in, futzing around with it, and doing all that kind of stuff. It'll just save so much time. Yeah. Moving feeders, no. No. Right. Yeah, here we go then. So, what are we doing? We said we were going to copy and paste some code. Right, there's two places we can copy and paste some code from. One is the table example, based on the knowledge we need to use a table. Or one is the Hello World one. But I think we're just going to go with the Hello World one so that we can read it and learn about it without getting too much details from the other one. Right, so this is the Ratatouille's minimal example, right? And this is what they say to do. Let's have a quick look at this. Oh, there's a Hello World one as well. This is bare minimum. There are approaches and running application. Not meant to be scripted. See, the Amazon will be in particular. See, the Hello World is a good. Okay. Well. So how does this differ from the Hello World one? I kind of want to know. Let's find out. Whee. Can we turn off the colouring? Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of the structure. And let's get rid of this. So which one's which? Minimal on the left, Hello World on the right. So what have we got here? We've got stud over here. This one's using cross terms specifically. These things look very similar. Event, execute, and terminal. And we've got the prelude, and it includes everything instead of just these things. Okay. It's lying. It says bare minimum example. It's like, well, what is this? Okay, fine. Is this? It should be not quite. This is the basic example. Introductory example. I don't know. It's clearly not the bare minimum because you've got a bare minimum over here. Gah. So what does it do? It returns a result of whatever. Set up terminal. So it grabs standard out. Enables rule mode. Right, and this is just using these things instead. Fine. Oh, and then we've got this context. Yeah, that's good. Probably need to be using context in some of this. In some of the things that we're doing because we're using the anyhow stuff. Context there. It is interesting. Okay, fine. And then it goes execute. Stood out. Enter alternate screen. So you go set up terminal, and then you get a terminal back from it. Yeah, so there's that panic hook thing that they were talking about before. So if you've done this, but this doesn't work, then you need to undo this raw mode thing, is what it's saying, basically. Fine, so it's set up terminal, then you run. The run is this. What is this enter alternate screen thing? Enter alternate screen is over here as well. Leave alternate screen. Interesting. And then what does the run do? It goes loop, terminal draw. And there's going to be some state somewhere. Should quit. This is making me, I'm intrigued. When what does this loop do then? Like if there's nothing to draw, what does it do? Does it just consume 100% CPU all the time, or does it sleep until there's something to do? How do you what does it do? Huh, I don't know. We're gonna have to look at that. Check if the user is press Q. I'm reading this stuff here. The way you handle events, it's just checks if the user press Q and turns to the rents. Yeah, so it renders once every 250 milliseconds. So if you call event, why do you need to render the? Oh, I see. So if there is no event, then I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I want to see what this poll does. It's got a timeout. You need a timeout. Does it block? Oh, I see. Okay, so read is the blocking thing to it. Okay. Read. Reads an event. Blocks until an event is available. Right. Okay, fine. Fine. That seems fine. Right, so it basically will consume all your CPU if you were just to use a low timeout. Okay, fine. Fine. And then what is this doing now? And this one is it blocks, right? And it just waits for an event and then processes the event. What? But surely this can have other types of event? Oh no, it does. Yeah, but this is enum. So what are the other types of event that you can have? You've got keys. Makes sense for a console. Focus gain, focus loss, key, mouse. Yeah, man. Paste, resize. That's all right. Mouse buttons. Some platforms do not report mouse buttons. Okay. All right then. Fine. Fine. Okay. So, yeah. Let's steal all the imports first. Oh, I suppose we should check license. Hold on. MIT. We're good. Okay, fine. I can copy and paste. Thank you. Copy. There you go. You saw it. Check the license. Console UI. So, the blob. Oh dear, we've got some problems. We need some dependencies. Dun 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 dun. What a surprise. Well, let's just add them. Cross term and ratatui. Okay. I think what we need is a feature. We're going to get a feature of console UI with a hyphen or an underscore. Console UI. And it's going to be a feature. And it's going to have some dependencies. And it's going to have cross whatever the hell it was. Cross term. And it's going to have... this. Which is way too many repeated characters for me to get right in the first go. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. Right, and then we're going to add those as dependencies. By doing this. Flop. There we go, equals, then we go whatever, and then we're going to go the same, and we're going to go space version. And we're going to say that one. we can say optional. Sure. Now we're going to have to see if there's any default features that we have to turn on or off of these things. I don't want an alpha. It's interesting that Ratatouille and Crosshome have the exact same version number. I don't know whether they do it on purpose or whether it's coincidence. But it is kind of weird. It's like, what are the chances? So Ratatouille's got a bunch of... No. Features and things like this, probably. Cargo file, that's what I'm looking for. What features has it got? What's enabled? Let's search for default in it, yeah, features default. So it adds cross-term underline color. Seems a bit odd, but okay, fine. We can underline things. And then cross-term is going to be a transitive dependency of Ratatouille. Fine. There is a way of specifying a feature for another crates thing, but I can't remember what it is. I'll deal with that later. Fine. So, okay, console UI, here we go. And they're not red anymore. That's good. Then, you know, oops, a daisy. Alt tab. We're just gonna copy and paste things and just. There's all this tracing stuff. There's this yeah. What's going on with all this? Because we've got our own tracing thing and way of displaying error messages and all this kind of stuff, right? So we're going to go set up and restore terminal as separate functions, and we'll grab those. Why is it? Wait, why isn't it? Why is it doing that? Oh, hold on, what? Oh, yeah, because yeah, I put them all in a structure. But what's the difference between? Is it just being stupid, or am I being stupid? I'm being stupid. Everything's fine. Right. You know, maybe maybe I should use a mod for it, or maybe they are just functions and they're not public. And I don't know. I'll carry on with that for a bit. render should quit and all the rest of it. And this is using render widget text raw paragraph. I don't really want to render widget to the frame size. Yeah, okay, we'll just steal more of this. We'll just steal stuff until it works for the time being. Because there's some boilerplate that you need to do, clearly. Right, so we've got this render. No. But it's going create render app, which isn't really right. This is going to be self. It should quit. It's going to be self. Should quit. Fine. Obviously, we can restructure all this at some point. But let's just get the basics working. I'm going to change this. Escape. He is character. Can we have? Do we have escape? Yeah. Q. Q for quit. It's like not everybody's language has it. And the people with different languages don't understand quit all the time. Q. How are they going to find it if they don't? If their word for quit start with their Q. Just smash the escape key. Done. Yeah, whatever. Moving on. Let's have a look. Okay, fine. So we've got the stuff, we've got all this stuff, and nothing's red. So I guess, because I don't want to run my whole functional test thing, let's go. No. Pub mod test. Let's bracket test. Pub. Bun. I mean, is it a test? Is it? I mean, is it? I guess we. Yeah, I guess we could have a test, which is more of a sort of Unity test thing. Which I don't know about this. I'm not sure. I just want something that I can just run this console UI without having all the other stuff before it at the moment, and just give it a list of the bad mapping failures that it needs. Because likely what's going to happen is that we need to call this sort of like run thing, and then we're gonna ask it to resolve mapping failures, which will bring up a dialogue or something like that. And there'll be some like thing where we check to see whether we need to do that in here, and if we do, then we do it. I don't know. Okay. Well, fun. Go. I'm thinking about just creating a feature, because if I try and run this test, it'll just kill all the tests, because it'll just run forever until you press escape. No. 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 I don't know what I'm going to do. Go. And we need to call this resolve mapping failures. So it's going to be console UI resolve mapping failures. I'll write it in test form, but I don't know whether this is going to pan out to be a test. Stuff. Whatever. Fine. Doesn't even return anything. Fine. Whatever. So what is whatever? Whatever is one of these. Mapping, it's really in it. Fine. Oh, yeah. There we go. So that should be enough to run it, right? So let's see what happens. It's going to be good, this. No. Well, yeah, no, that's fine. No. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry. We have to go. That's features is console UI. Go. Okay, no, because it's supposed to be hyphenated. Let's have a quick look to see whether cargo features are supposed to be using underscores or not. Underscores or dashes in crate names. I mean, this is crate names. What are the features? Yeah. I suppose that Rust uses internally it uses the what's the casing called? Snake case? No. What's it called? I don't know. Anyway, the code itself uses underscores. But is that the reason for doing it? Let's have a look at cargo itself. Let's have a look at cargo itself. Cargo sorts. Yeah, and let's have a look and see what they do. So features. Features. Look, they've got underscores. It's just a bit of a mess, isn't it? Look, underscores here and dashes here, you know. To do what to do. Oh, look. Wait, sorry, no. This crate uses underscores, But cargo itself uses dashes. I'm just going to look at the other project that I worked on for quite a while and just remind myself whether I use dashes or underscores. I think I use dashes like everywhere for the trait names and for the features. Yeah, I did. Yeah, dashes. I'm using dashes. Cargo uses dashes. That's that. So dash UI. We're good. Right. Did I press go? I don't remember. Mod operator can only be used in something that returns something. Yes, we know that. Not a mod operator. We need to return something here. Oops. It's probably not the right result. Let's make this anyhow. Result. Oh yeah, and then this is I was right there. It's fine. Wait, hold on. Anyhow result with whatever. Right? Oh right. Right. I'm looking at the wrong bit. Let me look at the hello world thing again because I think that we're missing a line. Yeah, we're missing this, which is what I thought, right? So that's what we're doing. Okay, fine. Let's use mapping as a result that must be used. We're just going to go whatever. Fine. And we're going to go run. Let's see what it does. No. Oh, I've done it again. Delete. Yes. Go. Do we have a ratatui cross-term UI right now? Do we have it? That's the question. Is it going to work? Drum roll, please. Got a drum kit downstairs. I could go and do one. Well, it's going. But you know, we don't see anything because it's capturing the output. I've got no way of typing into this console because this is not really a console. So obviously it's not going to do what we want. We need to say capture no or something. How do we do that? Because we're running in a test harness, you see, and I don't. Not really what we're gonna want to be doing long term anyway. Unless I created a. Well, we need to capture standard out and then look at it. Yeah, it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky. Because I could pipe an escape symbol into it and I could capture the output from it, but don't want to be doing it anyway. Okay. What I remember reading the other day was that there's two types. There's a couple of different types of backends for Ratatouille. Test being one of them, and our code is currently calling this setup terminal, which is using the cross-term backend, right? So you've got these terminals, which takes a backend. Right. Now, if you remember, there was I'm kind of curious. Yeah, okay. If you remember, there were some tests. What's this? Oh, here we go. Look. That's interesting. Well, that is very interesting. Look at that. You can say these are the things that we expect it to do. I mean, that's interesting, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. Okay, let's have a look at one of these table widget tests just to see what they do. Because I don't think these use that. See, they use this test backend. Right. Have a quick look at this test backend. I'm kind of curious to know a bit more about that Termion thing. So this module test backend traits and using integration tests to verify correctness of the library. It is public. Renders to an in-memory buffer. Yeah, it's kind of what I want. So if we say back in our land of no output, if we say config attr not feature text, right? So that's what you get if you're not running it in a test. Now we'll deal with whether that actually works or not later, but right now, I don't care. And then we're going to say this setup terminal, when you're running it in test mode, is what you get. Why? It's not duplicate because I'm using config attr. No, I'm not supposed to be using config attr. I'm supposed to be using config. There we go. Is it feature or features? Let me check up here. Feature, yeah, fine. So this is what we're going to get if we run it in test mode, right? So instead of getting this backend, we're going to give it a test backend. Sure. I don't know whether we're going to get it as defined as being something. Test backend. So we're not going to capture standard out. We're just going to do this because that's what this does. And you create a terminal here. And I don't think we need to do enable raw mode and all this kind of stuff, right? We just do this. And I suppose we could keep the error messaging all the same. Okay, now let's see what happens. Compiling it'd be good. Oh, it compiles. Is it still going to just sit there in a loop, though? Probably is. It is. What happens if we stop it and then debug it and put a breakpoint here? Get a breakpoint. I mean, that's good. So we haven't got a way of pressing the escape key at the moment. How far off track are we right now? Quite a long way. Oh dear. No, everything's fine. Should I be doing this? I don't know. Don't know. I'm experimenting as we go here. But I've got a reason for experimenting. Look. There it is. Okay, fine. So how can you press keys in this backend? I mean, how can you do it? Where let's look at it. Let's look at it. What can you do with it? You got test backend, events, test backend, buffer, resize. But where do the events come from? What creates events? What creates events? It's not these. Because this backend thing has got draw, end lines, and all this stuff. Cursoring, clear, and flushing. You see, it doesn't have. Where do the events come from? Where do the events come from? I mean, we saw the events in our little Hello World thing. Let's have a look. Where do events come from? Who owns the event? It's in cross term. Well, I mean, we're asking cross term to give us an event, and it's never going to do it because we haven't even started using it. Cross term owns events. I'm sort of surprised by this. Because I thought the ratatouille thing said it supports multiple backends. But if the other backend doesn't support events, how are you going to use events in the other backends? A little bit confuzzled. Like, it feels like there's rendering and GUI and all this kind of stuff, and then there's events, which is completely we forgot about that. I don't know. Seems a bit weird. Seems a bit weird. I kind of want to look at the Ratatouille documentation, right? What do they say? What do they say about events? Event handling. Let's have a look. There are many ways to handle events, mostly because Ratatouille doesn't expose any event catching. The program will depend on the chosen backend's library. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm? This doesn't read properly. In this style, control of the terminal and the main loop to a submodule. Does it say delegated? Are they missing the word delegated there? Doesn't read properly. Interesting. Application patterns. Curious. Interesting. Well, there's lots of reading to be done here. Elm single function handle message entire application. Hmm. Global. Interesting. See, I'm having dilemmas here because I know I want to add a graphical user interface to this instead of like a terminal user interface to this at some point. And the decisions I make for this stuff and then how I format the code and, create like data stores and, all this kind of stuff for like rendering UI components and widgets and all this kind of stuff. Like, where do they get the information from? What's the data model for one of these things look like? Because the data model for this should be the same whether it's a console-based UI or whether it's a graphical user interface, UI, right? That should be the same. Where it gets its information from, where the state is, and all this kind of stuff, all that kind of stuff should be the same. And the actions you do with it should be the same. So this is part of what I'm thinking. But the problem is, we haven't decided what other graphics library we're using. We don't know how they're architected. We only know that you can do it in a bunch of different ways with this one. I think I need to do a little bit of research off stream on this. There's no point me sitting here sort of like reading stuff while you guys are watching. It's not very exciting content for a stream. But there we are. So yeah, we need to decide which architecture to use for our application. Right. So that's what I'm going to have a delve into. We do have the dependencies and all this kind of stuff set up for this right now, and we've got, at least we made some progress, and we, even though it's copy and pasted code, it's still doing stuff. And we tried 2 different backends as well, so some progress has been made, but we're not getting any closer to where is it? My to do. So it looks like it's going to be yet another stream with this to do still not to done. There's probably going to be at least 1 or 2 more streams regarding this, I think, but we'll see if I can make some progress with deciding how this application should be structured, and then we'll try and tackle that in the next stream. Right. Okay, folks, thanks for tuning in. And just remember, it's only software. How hard can it be? We'll find out on the next one. See you later.